Hello everyone, my name is Dorya Vishal. I am a BTech first year student and today I am going to present our SC205 project in this video, which is based on sentiment analysis of Twitter data. So before starting to talk about our project, which is real-time Twitter sentiment analysis, one should be knowing what is sentiment analysis. In simple words, we can say that sentiment analysis is a process in which, based on a given set of textual data, the prediction of public sentiments is done towards a particular object or a thing. And if we talk about it in a more technical manner, then it is a process of computationally identifying and categorizing opinions expressed in a piece of textual data in order to determine whether the writer's attitude towards a particular topic, product, etc. is positive, negative, or neutral. Now, as we have known about what is sentiment analysis, we should be proceeding to our main topic, which is real-time Twitter sentiment analysis. Real-time Twitter sentiment analysis simply means to carry out the process of sentiment analysis on the data that we have collected from the Twitter API in real time. Now, a question might arise in all of your minds that why we are carrying out the process of sentiment analysis only on the data that we have collected from Twitter API and not on any other application that is available in the internet. Well, the simple answer to it is because Twitter is an open source platform and it is having a huge database of 230 million users, and it is also available in more than 200 countries, so that it becomes easy for us to do our sentiment analysis on a vast amount of data which is collected from a group of people who are not at all connected to each other and are totally different from each other and at the same time are living in a different parts of the globe, so that the opinions of them might not be connected with each other and it will be purely unique. Now you have known what is Twitter sentiment analysis and why we have used Twitter API to do our sentiment analysis. So now we should proceed towards how do we do the sentiments analysis of the Twitter data. Now, as you all have known what is Twitter sentiment analysis and why we are using only Twitter as a platform to collect the data for doing our sentiment analysis process. So now we will proceed towards how do we do sentiment analysis on the data that we have collected from Twitter. So the sentiment analysis of Twitter data is done in the following ways. First, we have to collect our data from the Twitter API. Then the pre-processing is done on that data, and then it is fed to a machine language model using a multinomial naive-based classifier, which then classifies it to come to a verdict whether the data that we have provided regarding a certain target object is having a positive sentiment among the people or negative sentiment, or it may be a neutral sentiment among the people regarding that particular thing. Now let us focus on detail on this all following steps one by one. So before doing the sentiment analysis, one must be having a data which we will get from the Twitter API. So now here Twitter API is nothing but an app that we have to create in the Twitter system by making a developer's account so that we can get a Twitter API. By developing a Twitter API, you will be able to access the tweets which are circulating in the Twitter app in real time. A Twitter API is nothing but an mediator that allows us to share the information with the Twitter platform and with the user so that they can interact with each other and share the tweets in real time, which is nothing but our data. One must be having an elevated account in the Twitter developers account. So then only you will be able to get the data in real time. Otherwise, it won't be allowing you to fetch the data from the Twitter application in real time. So you should keep in mind that while taking the permissions, you should allow the elevated option. Secondly, the pre-processing of the data is done that we have collected from the Twitter API. The pre-processing of data involves the following step, which is first of all, in the Twitter tweets that we have collected from the Twitter data is having a lot of trash in the form of the mention, hashtags, retweets, hyperlinks, and emojis. So first of all, before feeding it to a machine language model, we will clean all these things. So in order to remove all this mention, hashtags, retweets, hyperlinks, and emojis, we will use a library in Python named as RE, which just not only removes all these kind of mentions, but also places a blank in place of them. After removing of all such mentions, hashtags and retweets, hyperlinks and emojis, we will proceed to our next part, which is tokenization. Tokenization is a process in which a sentence or a paragraph is tokenized and is converted into a block of words. If it is a paragraph, then it will be converted into a sentence, and if it is a sentence, it will be further converted into a block of such simple words. In this process, the replacing of sensitive data with the unique identification of symbols that retain all the essential information about the data without compromising its security is done. So that, for example, if we have an example that my name is Shanks, then it would be converted into a block of words which is my, the name, then is, and then Shanks. So it is dividing the words one by one. This is known as the tokenization of data. After tokenization, the main process which comes into act is stemming. Stemming, after collecting the tokenized data, will actually give a root word that is connected to the tokenized form of data. Now, for example, here we have taken as if we have given set of words which are consult, consultant, consulting, consultative, consultants, and consulting, then all those words will be converted into their root word or the stem word, which we call as consult, as all the other words are derived from consult. For for example, if we take another example, running, runs, then all those words or set of words which are derived from run come under the branch of runs. And those all words will be converted into a single word that is run. In this way, the stemming of the data is done. So that we can say that stemming is a process of reducing the words to its stem form or the root word. After stemming of the data, we cannot just feed the textual data to a machine learning model, so that in order to feed data to the machine learning model, we should be converting that data into some vector forms. So that vector form of data is done by using a model which is called bag of words. In this process, bag of words, as we all know that a machine learning model needs vectors in form of input, and it cannot access or take input textual data as an input. So first we have to convert the textual data into a vector form. So to convert the textual data into a vector form, we will use bag of words. In this bag of words system, there are main two terms which are used. The first one is TF and another one is IDF. TF means the term frequency. Term frequency works by looking at the frequency of a particular term you are concerned with relative to the document. In this process, actually we are looking at how many times a term has frequently appeared in the documents and are listing it down one by one. And on the basis of that, we have to numerically give a number to that word, that how frequently that word has occurred in a sentence or a phrase. And then talking about the second thing, which is IDF. IDF means inverse document frequency. Inverse document frequency looks at the common or the uncommonness of a word in amongst the given set of data. So that in a term we can say it is looking at the rarity of a word, that how frequently a word is not appearing or is not common to be appeared in a group of sentence or a data that is textually fed. And on the basis of this both models, that are TF and IDF, the bag of system works so that it can combinedly generate a vectorized form of the data that we are feeding it into the system, and that data can further be fed into the machine learning model. After the completion of the bag of words process, the data is then fed to a machine learning model known as the multinomial naive-based classifier. The multinomial naive-based classifier is based mainly on the Naive-Bayes theorem, which we have learned in our discrete mathematics class. The multinomial naive-Bayes classifier uses a certain techniques to classify whether the textual data that is provided is either positive, negative, or neutral. In this probability, the probability that we want to know as an output is called the posterior probability, and that probability is achieved by looking at the likelihood probability and the prior probability. For example, we have a set of an object. For example, Dipachu. For example, you are a data scientist working at some organization, and you are asked to classify the data of a bank based on either the clients are eligible to get retired or not. So in this process, the age and the saving will be taken as two features of those clients, and we will be having some prior information to classify any other object, which will be our new client. So we will be having some prior information about some other clients so that we can classify a new client. In this process, first we will be having the prior information. So first we will be taking out the prior probability so that it can be useful to say either the new client is eligible to get retired or not. Now, based on the prior probability, we can also calculate, after calculating the prior probability, the likelihood probability. Like, for instance, if we plot the prior probability on a graph and then we plot the new client's properties based on the new client's properties, we plot it on a graph, then we will get a certain likelihood around that new client, and that likelihood gives us a likelihood probability. And based on this both prior probability and the likelihood probability, when we combine those two of them, we can get our posterior probability as an output, which will give us a verdict on whether the client is to be get retired or not get retired. In the similar way, when we fed a textual data into a multinomial naive-Bayes classifier, it classifies the data accordingly and it can give us a verdict or a conclusion to the textual data so that we can say either the data that we have provided is positive, negative, or neutral regarding any certain object. So in this way, multinomial naive-Bayes classifier is used to classify the sentiments of the people. And after classifying the sentiments of the people, one can know or come to a conclusion what is the public's opinion regarding a particular object or a particular thing. Now, after applying such a type of proposal which we are proposing, you can get the following as an output. After applying such kind of thing, you can get a word cloud as in a form of output, or you can get in output you can get either the percentages of how much sentiments of people are towards you. Sorry, cut. So by using such a type of proposed model, you can get the following as an output. First of all, you can get a word cloud as an output so that you can be knowing what kind of Twitter data or the words a user is related to or is trending about that user or what he or she would be using it in the future. And in the other part, we can know the sentiments of people regarding a particular keyword in percentages, which might be positive, negative, or neutral based on the keywords that you have entered. In such a way, you can get the data as an output from our model. Now, one must be thinking, what is the need of such a type of model? So, it is very much applicable to us. As for example, if there is going to be a political election, then such a type of sentiment analysis technique can be used by the people to know the sentiment about the people regarding a particular regarding a particular person in that area. Collecting the data only of that area, we can know that how much popularity is gained by that person in that area, and it can be used by the political parties in the political campaign so that they can elect their representatives smartly, so the chances of winning the election can increase. So in this way, if used wisely, such sentiment analysis can be helpful to the political parties. Not only that, but also the film production companies can check out the ratings of the star and the sentiments for the star among the people so that they can hire a star to work in the company, or you can say pitch a production film accordingly. Not only that, but it is mainly, or it can be mainly used by the companies for analyzing the data online. For example, if we take for instance take a XYZ company which hires a person to do the analysis of the data which is available on Twitter, then it would be impossible for that person to do the analysis of the data and come to a verdict either the sentiments of people for that company are positive, negative, or neutral. So in such a case, our proposal can be of great use at it gives the output in a single click and tells you that how the people is feeling about your company or brand. If a company uses such a type of model so that they can save their time about looking for the people's feeling about their brand, and it would help them to understand their brand very deeply, and also they can know what are the things missing in their product that the customers want so that they can fulfill the customer's need and make a better product in the future. In this way, sentiment analysis is helpful to the people in a great way and can be used in several ways for the companies and the individuals all. So this was our whole project based on the real-time Twitter sentiment analysis. Hope you all have liked it. Thank you.